Hello and welcome to Labour Lens. I am Sharon Ijason. On this week's edition of the program, we'll be focusing on the 2025 edition of the Energy and Labour Summit of Pengassan. Take a listen.
At the University of Lagos, leaders of the Academic Staff Union of Universities gathered to brief the press on what they described as a worsening crisis in Nigeria's higher education system.
When the Minister of Education expressed the wish of government that there will be no strike by unions in tertiary institutions, one would think this will immediately be matched with action. Unfortunately, all we have been doing is talking and holding series of meetings with government agencies without results. It's a clear case of movement without motion. What else would anyone do in this situation? Whatever happens next, Nigerians should hold government responsible, not ASU.
Across the country, leaders participated in a vote backing an indefinite strike, citing unpaid arrears, neglect of public universities, and the victimization of academics in some institutions. ASU insists that the renegotiation of the 2009 ASU-FGN agreement, sustainable funding for universities, and an end to the marginalization of lecturers remain non-negotiable.
Sincerely, there is nothing to celebrate. The government have actually not done anything to make any difference. And if the truth must be told, like we were shouting before now, any professional for that matter that still is in this country as at now, particularly professors, particularly people with PhD in the academia, because with PhD you are a global citizen, you can get employment everywhere, should be praised, should be commended for their patriotism.
For many, the issue goes beyond lecturers' welfare. It's about safeguarding the future of public education and the millions of young Nigerians who depend on it.
As the Academic Staff Union of Universities continues to agitate for better welfare and salaries, the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, SANU, has also demanded immediate harmonization of salaries across all federal and state institutions to ensure fairness and equity. This follows the information that there will be a review of salaries for workers in the tertiary institutions. The national president of SANU, Mohammed Ibrahim, during an interview with TVC News, expressed concern over the government's disregard for the Memoranda of Understanding, Memoranda of Action, and other duly negotiated collective bargaining agreements entered into with SANU.
We are aware that government is in the process of reviewing salaries. We are aware of that. But the danger that is coming with that is also the info we have that there is a deliberate move by some people who do not mean well for this government to bring in disparity in the salaries of teaching and the non-teaching staff. And that will never be accepted by us. In the name of peace and progress and development, and if they love, the system to continue to operate without any friction, is to continue to maintain what is there now.
It is the 4th edition of the Pengassan Energy and Labour Summit since its debut in 2022. The summit has grown into a continental platform for dialogue on critical issues in the oil and gas industry. This year's theme, Building a Resilient Oil and Gas Sector in Nigeria, reflects urgent priorities for the country's economic survival. For Pengassan, resilience begins with protecting workers' rights. Its president, Festus Osifo, warned employers against anti-union practices and cautioned government on hasty amendments to the Petroleum Industry Act.
There are few companies today in Nigeria that are preventing members from joining the union. This is 21st century. This is 2025, and we still have companies indulging in this. We wish to use this medium to let them understand that they must cease and desist. because if they don't, we will surely come after them.
Industry players say true resilience must also come with safe and sustainable practices.
Today, we are able to witness the power of those transactions that concluded last year. Many indigenous operators, you represent some of them, have been able to do what is the calling of this industry, and that is to sustain and build production. And the operators who sold those businesses are now able to bring their best to deep water exploration and production.
While stakeholders debated labor rights and corporate governance, the federal government acknowledged steady growth in oil production, linking it to collaboration across the sector.
Whereas the efforts by government has resulted in production of 1.8 million barrels, we need to take steps that will increase the volumes. There was a marginal bid round a few years ago where over 60 people got licenses. If each of them produces even 2,000, like the 120,000.
On the labor front, the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment pledged to strengthen tripartite dialogue between government, employers, and unions.
We will also promote decent work, occupational safety across all energy operations, supporting skills development and upskilling for energy transition era, and supporting fair wages.
Beyond immediate reforms, Pengassan is also pushing for urgent action on climate change and environmental degradation, insisting the industry's long-term survival depends on responsible governance and environmental protection. The outcomes of the summit will be submitted to government, regulators, and companies to drive tangible reform, boosting production, protecting jobs, and improving workers' welfare.
When you work in oil and gas, it's a technical department, and whatever we are doing has to do with safety. So safety is key. Safety is something you cannot overemphasize in the industry. So we tailor the team towards that to ensure that our members will go out there, go to the offshore, deep offshore, shallow offshore, those that work on the land rigs and all that, so that they can come back to their families safe. So we took this topic so that we can now kind of partner with the regulators and then discuss with the IOCs and the NOCs in order to come up with a safety strategy that will ensure the welfare of our members and ensure that when they are working out there, they have that operational safety in their various fields. Most of our key discussants and the facilitators, you discover that their topic was based on safety and how regulators can be able to enhance this. So when we are talking of regulators, we talk both the downstream and the upstream. So we are partnering with them to ensure that they are the people that, they are the police. We are not the police. We only talk about the welfare of our members. We are a pressure group. So the regulators will be able to do their work by talking with these multinationals and see that they incorporate total safety in their operations. So this will in turn provide a safe environment for our workers. When the president was making presentation in Gina Faces or Social, we discovered that there are some places you see where what they're supposed to use crane to take on board, they were using hands to do that. Workers were using their hands in the 21st century. People are using hands to take things from boats in deep offshore. So we discovered that these activities, it's endangering the life of our members. And it's affecting us.
It's one of our programs that will give back to society. As I said earlier, when we're giving back to society, it's not only to the, when they say giving back, it's not only to the needy or those that are on, but also to government and the Nigerian society as a whole. Because if you improve the oil and gas industry in one way or the other, you've also improved the income base of the government that has over 70% of its income through the oil and gas industry. So we use this as an opportunity to collaborate with agencies, professionals, and our members so that we can improve our knowledge of what we have, you know. So they say continuous training. So if we look at this year's zone, say yes, so let's build a resilient oil and gas industry, advancing HSC and all. Because the first thing, safety first. Without safety, a lot of things will go wrong. You can imagine one losing your life or losing a limb or losing, what are you there working for? So make the environment to be friendly and conducive for work. That's a major thing. I want to thank our employers. When I'm at both government, you can see representatives. Honorable Minister of Labour was here, the President, Minister of Petroleum Resources, the Group Chief Executive of NNPC, which is the major player, the regulators, their executive secretaries, they are all here, and other IOC management, and so they know it is a very important something, and what they've learnt and what we've shared among all of us to be taken back home. And when we do more collaboration, to improve on what they have, the IT, everything, IT will come in now and they will improve on the existing structure we have so that the place will be more friendly and safer to work with.
From the ILO's perspective, you will recall that we had a set of fundamental principles and rights at work with 6 conventions that are related to that. But over the recent years, the ILO has realized the need to upgrade occupational health and safety as one of the fundamental principles and rights at work. Why? This was driven by the COVID pandemic, which also brought to the forefront the need to protect the safety of workers as they come to work and as they go back to their communities. So we are producing a lot of knowledge products so that we sensitize governments, workers and employers on the need to protect the health and safety rights of workers, whether they are in the private sector, public sector, in the informal economy, particularly in those critical sectors where workers are vulnerable, in the domestic sector, in the platform economy, in the agriculture, mining and construction sectors.
On the profile interview segment this week, I'll be speaking with the president of Pengassan, Comrade Festus Osifo. He tells me it's of utmost importance for health and safety to be prioritized in the oil and gas sector and in other stratas of life. Take a listen. It's good to have you on the program.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sharon. Thank you for having me.
The last time we spoke was in June in Geneva, Switzerland.
Yes, in Geneva, correct.
So I'm happy to have you once again.
Thank you so much, Sharon. Thanks a lot.
A lot has been happening in the world of work, and for your industry, you just successfully completed the Pengassan and Labour Annual Summit. It's the 4th in the series.
Yes.
Can you tell us how has it been?
Yes. Just as you rightly said, we just finished the 4th edition of the Pengassan Energy and Labour Summit, where we focused on some salient topics in the industry. And this is actually the 4th in the series. We started it in 2022 with the 1st edition, the 2023, 2024, and this is the 4th. And thank you. You've been part of the program in the last 3 years. You've been part of it just from the onset till now. And each of these editions had focused on industry challenges. We started discussing issues around gas development, to issues around crude oil theft, to issues around AI in oil and gas. We also discussed about energy transition. We discussed about the downstream, liberalization of the downstream and its attendant effect on Nigerians. We discussed on infrastructure, pipeline infrastructures and other in the last 3 editions. But in this particular one, we are now focusing on safety in the oil and gas industry. So the topic is around building a resilient oil and gas industry with special focus on HSE, special focus on ESG, and special focus on divestment and incremental production. Because this is actually the trending issues in the Nigerian oil and gas industry. Because for us, we were able to extrail all these. We will put our communique together as usual. I will present it to the press and we will also submit it to government. So I could say largely from the participants in the summit, they've attested to the quality of the speakers. They've also attested to the relevance of a topic to the moment in the Nigerian oil and gas industry.
Building a resilient oil and gas sector, of course, is a very wonderful theme. I remember during the conference, 1 minute silence was
actually observed for oil and gas workers that died in the last 1 year. Can you bring us up to speed on why occupational health and safety is paramount to...
Yeah, it is. Because if you look at the oil and gas industry, it's a very high risk. I mean, we work in a very high risk environment. When you go to an offshore location, you have maybe FSO or FPSO located, a very tiny unit, located in the middle of nowhere. That if there is any trigger, if there is any problem, and you need to take people out from that platform, you could have a lot of death, and you could have, it could be very, very disastrous. You could see the cases, the Deepwater Horizon that happened, say, about a decade plus ago. You could see a lot of, I mean, the Piper Alpha has been legendary in terms of what we should not do in the oil and gas industry. So, when you have any explosion, when you have any safety concerns in the oil and gas industry, the consequences are always catastrophic. So that is why we try as much as possible to put in a lot of safeguards so that we will not get to that point. But we observed that in recent times, we'll be losing some grip in terms of safety. The IOCs, they're actually good in managing a lot of those issues, in putting in place safety measures to prevent to prevent us having a downgraded situation. But if you come to a lot of marginal field operators, politicians who just go out there to obtain licenses and without the real technical know-how, and they will not even engage professionals. They will bring in some quacks just for them to get that oil out from the ground and sell. We've recorded some downgraded situation. Because, Sharon, the oil and gas fields, comes with high temperature and pressure. So when there is a leakage, when there is an explosion, it leads to catastrophic end. If you remember, when I was doing my opening remark on the first day, there was a video that I threw up. That video, it was taken from a particular company in Nigeria. The name of that company is called Sigmund. Where they use rope, human beings are doing the job of a crane. So the people there said, no, we can't continuously do this because we are exposing ourselves. They went on strike and they were sacked because they went on strike. You could imagine the irony. So we are holding them accountable today to say, no, that platform will shut it down until you bring in these people and until you also do what is right. Because our advocacy in the oil and gas industry transcends welfare. It's not just about welfare and employment, but it's also about protecting our members that are working in those installations. Any installation where we don't have good safety measures put in place, we go in there, we advocate. But when the management of such fields are refusing to do what is right, we go on strike. We can even shut down production to ensure that the right thing is done. Because how many barrels of crude truly were the life of one human being?
During the conference, industry experts, came over to make commitments towards ensuring safety of life while on duty. But what more would be your expectation from other stakeholders like government towards ensuring policies that will hold everyone, both international and local players in the industry, accountable?
Sharon, yes, we had the ministers of petroleum resources, oil, minister of labor and employment, GCO, NNPC, all the captains of industries, the NUPROC, our chief executive, trying to commit to the fact that henceforth they will hold these people accountable. Yes, it's quite good. But for us, it's much more beyond. It's much more beyond just saying it, but it's following it through. We believe what they have said, but it's our responsibility to ensure that they carry it through. Sharon, we have policies in Nigeria. We have policies in Nigeria. We have beautiful statements written everywhere, both by government, both by the regulators, and all whatnot. But the challenge is implementing some of these, because you see, maybe one of those institutions could send a member or their employee to each of these locations to say enforce the safety standards. But when you get to that location, you realize that the field is owned by one of the big politicians. And as you are trying to do your job, you are receiving, they will call your office and tell your office that, oh no, these guys should back off. Then when you receive calls from your bosses that, no, don't worry, we are talking to them, we are speaking with the management, let's go. People will tend to let go, when they are doing their official assignment. So that is why, for us in the union, we step in to ensure that what is right is done. So the challenge is not really about fantastic policies. It's not really about, putting on 500 pages on what should be done and what should not be done. Those things will just be in the archive, gathering dust. But it's more about implementing those policies. So for us, we take those policies, we take those programs. Even most of these companies, they have safety manuals. So written down. Okay, when you want to carry out operation A, you do this, you isolate that, you get this done, it's written in their manuals. So but when you are about implementing, some of these tools are not available for you to implement. For example, I can tell you that in that SIGMOD location, it must be written that if you want to lift anything from the boat, you use a crane. But when a crane is not available, your supervisor comes to you and says, okay, just tie rope to that material and you do the job of a crane, then that becomes a challenge. So beyond manuals, beyond safety policies and all that, for us, it's about getting them to do what is right, getting them to implement what they themselves have put into policies, have put into manuals, and have put into procedures.
Okay, one of the sub-team has to do with incremental production. Yes. And during the conference on day 2, you specifically recommended the NLLG method towards ensuring, that the oil and gas sector probably grows. So do you want to tell us more about that?
Yes. So if you remember very well, the managing director of ExxonMobil, Mr. Jaggi, was around, and he took us through what could be done in order for us to have incremental production. That it is not just, it's very expensive for you to look at a field that is declining, then for you to now do additional drilling and tie it back to the already existing platform. It's quite challenging in terms of technology and more so in terms of cost as well. So it's quite challenging. But beyond that as well, he also proposed some things that could be done for us to achieve that incremental production. Then Engineer Gbenga Komolafe of the NUPROC, the chief executive of that institution, also came and told us what they have been doing, to increase the Nigerian production. That has saw the production move from about 1.4 million barrels at the beginning of the year to about 1.7, 1.8 million barrels of crude today. Excellent. Beyond all that, one of the things we said was that there is a challenge in terms of stability in the oil and gas industry today. Because, if you could recall, PIA was passed in 2021. After PIA was passed in 2021, the implementation started. But today, a section of that PIA was moved and, moved to the Nigeria, the Tax Administration Act today. There are still a lot of proposals to further balkanize the PIA. What investors want is stability. You heard when the ExxonMobil MD was reiterating the fact that one of the things that is required in this industry is stability and certainty. You must be able to predict, okay, this is the law today. I want to take an investment decision. If I am taking that FID today, which is the final investment decision, okay, these are the economics. These economics must be true today. They must also be true in the next maybe 10 years.
Okay, we'll move to the next question, which will be about the need for employers of labor to allow workers unionize. During the conference, you mentioned that there are some companies that do not want workers to belong. Can you tell us what is the way forward with this particular issue?
Yes, one of the tactics that some of these companies have deployed over time is the issue of using contract staffing. So what we've done in Pengassan is that we started unionizing those contract staff. Because it's all about condition of service, right? It's all about remuneration. It's all about the welfare package, and it's so we started unionizing them. That okay, even as we are agitating that let them move over to become a permanent employee or a full-time employee, but even the state they are today, we are unionizing them. That as we are discussing that, let's be improving their welfare. But some of these companies are not quite comfortable with that. There is a particular company that I mentioned, One PLC, former Mobile Oil. So they have this set of contract employees that have been working in that establishment for a while. So we brought them into the union just about a month ago. So the management of these companies, they are coming after them by giving them a form to fill that they will not be members of a union. We've asked them not to fill it. Even if they go ahead to fill the form, it's not avoid. Because the Nigeria laws, the labor laws, the Trade Union Act has clearly defined the path to unionization. That the right of a worker to be organized, it's an inherent and a fundamental right. So for us, we are not troubled by that. I mean, we are also signatories to a lot of ILO conventions. So even if they go ahead to some companies that they've signed such documents, we've actually, I mean, when we get to Ministry of Labor, it falls flat because it's against the provisions of a law. So for such companies, we have told them that after this conference, we will visit them and we'll let them understand if they don't want to toe the path of dialogue, then they will have us to contend with. Because for us, oil and gas workers, we are unionizing. In fact, since we came on board, we've brought in close to 50 different companies into Pengassan, and the drive is a continuum.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember that labor creates wealth.